you doing?
Morning.
Learn about a little bit of framing and some drywall. Anybody interested in being a carpenter? Good. All right. Well, first we'll show you how we cut out a box.
So I got the mark on the floor already. There's a mark down here. I find center about, and then I mark the floor. This is before you hang your drywall, obviously. Then you got to kind of get a center because you want to be in the center of this box. So about 19 is going to be our number.
All right. New technology. We have a thing called a roto zip. Years ago, you did it by hand with a saw. Now we have much better technology. All drywall is 48 inches wide. The reason being is your studs are either 16 on center or 24 on center. There will be 16, 32, 48. Thus the reason the drywall is 48. Or it's 24, then 48. And you always have it centered. It's centered on your studs.
So we just want to
So
tack
Jim's
this,
just going to tack the drywall up.
which just means a couple screws just to hold it.
Yep, just to hold it. Because if you put too many in, that box would actually push this drywall right out.
Now remember our number was 19 is what we needed. So we find 19.
Off of that mark you made on the floor.
Off the mark I made on the floor, so 19's right here. At this point, I don't have my pencil on me. Now we want to be in the center. So you're going to hear the different tone. When I get in this box and plunge it, it's going to make the loudest noise. And when I get over, you're going to hear that tone. That means that I touched the side of the box. Then I need to get to the outside of that box to route this thing out. Hear that noise? That's the noise that you hit the box. There you have it. There's your box, perfectly cut.
One of the things that you have to remember when you're doing that, you don't want to go clockwise with that rotor zip. You want to go counterclockwise because the bit will follow right around the box. If you go the other way, it'll start wandering. All of a sudden you'll have this line instead of being around the box, it's over here at that point because it's not following anything.
So it'll eat into the box too. If it's plastic, it eats into the box and just makes for a perfect cutout. Just use this finger. Hold the trigger. Keep it compressed. You're trying to keep it square. If you're like this, it's not going to go in right. You're like that, so you want to try to keep it square with the part. You're just gonna.
You just got to push.
You got to push really hard.
Yep, and you can keep your hand right on the trigger.
Hold the trigger down completely. Yep. Now take this hand right here and put it up here. Yep. Kind of like that. Yep. Yep, right there. No, hold the trigger. Now push. There you go. Nice. That was actually really good. A little bit more behind it, you would have got it, but it looks good. You want to try it again? Then we have another single feed, which we'll show you too.
Should I do one?
You can go, yeah, just go right in between those. Yep, hold the trigger, yep. There you go, you did good on that one, yeah. Yep. You sunk that one.
Fire him!
Yep. See, the idea is that you're setting that screw just below the face of the paper. That way you can put joint compound on it to finish it. If they're sticking out, you got a manual, you take a screwdriver or this again and sink that a little bit.
We'll try the
Here, you try this one.
single
too.
feed. It's the same, it has the same thing. You want to put your web up, yep, there you go. Hold the trigger completely until you sink it. And keep it nice and square, yep, there you go. Yep, hold the trigger. There you go. Nice, yeah. Want to try it again, or are you good?
So now when you guys are hanging drywall, why sometimes you'll go horizontal, sometimes you'll go vertical? Is there one benefit to the other?
Well, on wood framing, since we didn't frame it, the roughers, they may be right on the money, but a lot of times they're not. So if you're standing up a board 4 foot wide, you might hit these points instead of having me to go all the way up and come on all the way down. it's easier for the finishers to tape this than it is compared to doing verticals at that point. Okay, who else wants to try screwing some drywall? How about you? Come on.
You got it, buddy, come on.
One of the things that you're gonna listen to this real quick. I got a screw here that's not fully set. You hear this click noise? Hear that? The tapers don't like that.
There you go.
Because
Hold the
everything
trigger
you
down.
wanna do is that screw has to be recessed to the wall.
Which side is that? There you go.
That's why you gotta set it just below the paper, without breaking
You're
it.
gonna go, try go like this. Yep, there you go. Just push. Yep, you got it, yep. It just was a little off kilter. You wanna try it down a little lower? Sure.
You would take your T-square, go like that, move it down here, hold that same mark on there and mark it again, so your centers were on the center of the studs. The other reason why I use a T-square is if you were wanting to cut this drywall, go like so.
Gives you a
Okay,
nice straight line.
do a nice straight line, turn the board like so. There you go. Cut the back of the board. Should come more nice. The board's cut. Simple as that. Okay? All right. One of the things that we have here, I've got some different samples of drywall. We have your standard drywall, which is what this is. This comes in 1/2 inch and 5/8. 5/8 is more of a fire-rated drywall. But 1/2 inch is typically in a building like so. We put 5/8 on the ceiling because of the 24 centers. If you put 1/2 inch on here, it has a tendency to cut between the studs. Okay.
Most residential is 1/2 inch,
Right.
and most commercial is 5/8.
Now this one
Half
here,
inch is a lot lighter too.
yeah.
It is lighter, absolutely. Yep.
This board here is a high impact or high abuse board. So we just did the Transit Lanes bowling alley. And one of the things that the owner was concerned about, when people throw a gutter ball, they get mad, they want to punch the wall or something. Well, we replaced some of the drywall and we replaced it with this. Let them try to hit it now. You will hurt your hands with this, okay? They make a tile lacquer board now that's not a cement board. They make more of a drywall. It's a gypsum core, but it's got characteristics to prevent mold and mildew. And it's got the tape or the texture on here for the adhesives of the ceramic tile or whatever you're using to bond to this. Okay, it's as good as the cement board. It's not as the cement board. When you cut it, the dust could harm your lungs. So we try to stay away from that.
So that goes into like high moisture, like showers, high moisture
yes,
areas.
yes, it goes
But
into
what
that.
anywhere you're gonna put tile, if you're not gonna put tile, you just use a regular MR board, moisture resistant board. But it actually has a texture on it.
Some
You
of
can't
the
do that.
some of the buildings we're doing, apartment buildings we're doing that are high rise, they're calling for a shaft wall system. It's a fire rated system that you build 2 walls, but you put this in between it. It's actually 2 inches of gypsum board that go together like this with an H stud. An H stud here, and then you put the next one in and the next one in and so forth. After that's done, that's inside 2 wood stud walls. You'll see down the hall here, that's soundboard on those walls. It's not gypsum core because it doesn't call for it here, because it's not such a high rise. So that's what stops a fire from going from one end of the building to the other. If you look up in the trusses, we've actually started doing some smoke trusses up inside to stop the fire from going all the way through all the trusses. It's a fire stop, down to the next wall down there, okay? As far as beads go, corner beads and that, back in my day, we used the metal corner bead. And this would go on the drywall, and we had a crimping tool that basically had these 2 little ears. As you hit it with a rubber hammer, this little button, it would crimp here, every one up. And then what we used to do is we used to take nails or screws and screw up ankles, knees, waist. So if you hit it, it didn't crack the drywall or the corner bead. Now, we're on to the system now where it came out with this. It's a paper-faced metal bead. And now we glue this on with joint compound. We have a special hopper that's full of joint compound. You push these things through the hopper, it actually already puts the joint compound on this.
You don't have to have that hopper, you could just do it by hand.
It could be hot. You could put mud on it, put this on
Put
there.
the mud on it, yeah.
And we have a rolling tool that basically sets this square to the drywall on both sides. Okay? And then after this is dry, then you put your second and third coat on. Well, now they've got into the next generation, which is what they call This is called a no-coat beam, okay? And you can see that basically it's a plastic bead on the inside now instead of a metal bead. What we didn't like about the metal bead, it's still dense, okay? If somebody hits that with that corner, and all of a sudden you got a little ding in the corner at that point. It's tough to fix.
You would think it would be stronger, but actually that stuff is stronger.
Okay, so I was at a trade show and I had a knee wall like this, and this was on the wall, already coated in, dried out. And a guy hands me a baseball bat, the salesman did. He says, hit that corner. I go like this and I hit. He said, I'm telling you to swing it like a baseball bat. So I swung it as hard as I could. It didn't dent. The bat came back faster than I hit it at that point, you know? So, but I believed in it. So we primarily use something like this as a bead. And again, it goes through a hopper, or you can put the mud on it if you want. All right, put it on here. The roller sets it in place. Once it dries, you coat it once or twice. You're done. It's a better job. It costs more money for this, but we don't go back for cracks on it.
Yeah.
All right, when you get cracks on a job, it's like a recall. How much money you making fixing that crack? You don't. So the generations of what we're doing now. One of the neat things we do, we found this bead. We got curved soffits in the building. Okay, so instead of having that bead like that metal bead notching it, we found this to be able to do this. If you wanted to do a radius this way, or if you have an arch, you do it this way. Okay, and it follows right around. The problem with this has to be stapled on, okay, because it's just going to flex on it. So individually, you got to staple every one of these things. So we've gone to another bead that basically you use the same kind of idea, but it's mud. So you can put it on like this, you wipe it down, it stays there. Okay, all right. Or we did this, you know, and it works well. I mean, we did a building. A soft building that we did all these serpentine soffits all the way down the hallway. It turned out unbelievably well. The owner couldn't have been happier how it worked out. Okay. What else? Okay. Want to do something now behind here? If you look at this, we do a lot of metal studs in our business.
Metal studs are commercial. You won't find that really in a residential.
Back here and I can explain to you.
Most houses, you'll have wood framing just like this, typical here. But a commercial building, they use metal studs.
Okay. In our metal studs, we have a bottom track that looks just like this. Okay. Sometimes we'll use that for the bottom and the top if we're not going up to the structure above. But when this wall goes from concrete floor to the underside of the roof deck, we use a track like this. This is called a deflection track. Okay. And if you look at it, it's got all these little slots in it, okay? And you notice that the screw is pretty much in the center of that hole for every stud. What'll happen when you get a snow like we had previously, that snow that's on top of that roof is pushing the structure down, okay? And if these things were, you know, if we were using that track, that whole thing would transfer all the way down to the concrete floor. What happens then, we start getting cracks in the drywall. It's gotta give someplace at that point. By doing what we're doing with this, it allows the roof to deflect, move up and down, so that we prevent the cracking on the wall. Okay? So you see holes in the studs here? That's for the electrician. We usually keep, right now this is not, usually we try to line these holes up so they're all in the same situation, off the floor, so the electrician can run his wires through, plumber can run his plumbing through, so it makes it easier for them instead of having to go up and down at that point. Because they don't like you when you do that.
Well, because again, on each of these walls, the plumber, they have to drill through every single stud, where this would be a lot easier.
So that's how we do metal studs. Obviously, we'll build the wall, we'll hang one side of drywall. If the wall calls for insulation, that's when we insulate this. Okay. That's how we do that.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to show a contact. If you have a hole, say, like my grand fooling around or something, and he damaged the drywall. So what would happen is, to patch that, you got to cut the hole out.
Try to square it up.
Try to square it up like you see this hole. This is called a hot patch, or the other term that we've heard is the California hot patch, but whatever. What we'll do is we'll cut a hole, say it's a little round hole, we'll cut this to square, and then what we'll do is we'll cut this piece of drywall bigger than that by about an inch all the way around. So if that's 4 inches by 4 inches, we're going to cut it 6 by 6, 6 by 6. Then what we'll do is on the back side, we'll score it to fit that hole. Then after we score it, we snap it, and then we peel the drywall off this way to leave the face on there. So after it's done, we'll mud this all the way around here. We'll put joint compound in here, put mud around the edges, we will put this in this hole like so, and fit it in there. And then you just take your taping knife, after the tape's on there, and then wipe it down. You let it dry, a couple coats later, it looks like you never had a hole.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
All right, any questions on drywall, because we're switching it now?